He was the world's first superhero. His first film set the standard for decades of comic book movies to follow.
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me? Who's got you?
And made audiences everywhere believe that a man could fly. So how did Superman wind up with two versions of his second movie?
Is this a philosophy seminar?
In this edition of Cut Cut, we're doing a deep dive into Superman 2. The story begins with the 1973 film The Three Musketeers, which was produced by Alexander and Ilya Salkind and directed by Richard Lester. During production, the decision was made to split it into two movies, the second half becoming the 1974 film The Four Musketeers. The Salkinds realized this was actually a very cost-effective way to make two movies. They didn't need to reassemble the actors, return to locations, or really have any of the time and expense of stopping and starting a production. So a few years later, when the Salkinds were set to produce Superman the movie, they decided they would make Superman and Superman 2 at the same time. Richard Donner, who was hot off the success of The Omen, was chosen to direct the two movies. Even considering what a huge project it was, the production was constantly falling behind schedule and going over budget. Donner was butting heads with the Salkinds over needing more time and more money. A lot of this can be attributed to Donner wanting everything to be perfect. And to be fair, it shows. The first Superman still holds up today as one of the best superhero movies of all time, even in a day and age where we get multiple comic book movies every year. At some point, the Salkinds told Donner to stop working on anything related to Superman 2 and just focus on finishing the first movie. They also told Donner not to end the first movie on a cliffhanger. Originally, Superman the movie was supposed to end with one of Lex Luthor's missiles freeing the Phantom Zone villains, who were introduced at the beginning of the film. The Salkinds told Donner not to end the film that way, so now he didn't really have an ending. Donner ended up taking what was supposed to be the ending of Superman 2 and using it to end Superman the movie, which was Superman flying backwards around the world at super speed to reverse time. So keep in mind that was originally how Superman 2 was going to end, but it was used for Superman 1 instead. Superman the movie premiered in December 1978, and it was a huge success. Fans loved it.
That was great, really. Fantastic movie. See it.
Critics loved it.
Holding up the Earth's crust, airplanes are flying out of the sky, dams are bursting, the California coast slides into the sea. It's really a pretty entertaining picture.
It's a lot of fun.
And in many ways, it was the birth of the modern superhero movie. It was the first one to take the subject matter seriously. Before this, most people equated superheroes with the 1966 Batman. Campy, silly, and mostly for kids.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
The tagline of Superman the movie was, "You'll believe a man can fly." And with a cast that included big names like Marlon Brando and Gene Hackman, a score by John Williams that's still synonymous with the character today, and a Superman who looked like he stepped right off the comic book page with Christopher Reeve, Richard Donner's commitment to excellence absolutely paid off. However, after all the times they had clashed over time and money, the Salkinds fired Donner and brought in Richard Lester to finish Superman 2. This led to even more complications for several reasons. 1. According to the rules of the Directors Guild of America, Lester could not be credited as director unless he shot 40% or more of the film. By most accounts, Donner had already filmed about 75%. This meant they would have to reshoot scenes that were already completed. 2. Marlon Brando sued the Salkinds over a pay dispute from Superman 1. As a result, they ended up scrapping all the scenes that Brando had already filmed for Superman 2. They would end up reshooting those scenes with Susanna York as Lara instead of Brando's Jor-El. 3. Gene Hackman refused to come back and film any additional scenes.
To see the White House, they've been cleaning for months.
The Lex Luthor scenes they needed would have to be accomplished with a stand-in actor and a sound-alike dubbing in Lex's voice.
Hey, never heard of parachutes?
Considering all these restrictions, it's amazing that Superman 2 turned out as good as it did. Much like its predecessor, it was very well received. Some even liked it better than the original, due to it having more action and Superman fighting superpowered villains.
Finally, 2 very enthusiastic yes votes for Superman 2. Gene and I both thought it was even better than the original.
But as time went on, especially years later when the internet came about, fans couldn't help but wonder what the film would have been like if Richard Donner had been able to finish it. In 2006, that question was sort of answered with the direct-to-DVD release of Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut. Donner and editor Michael Thau took all of Donner's completed footage out of the vault for the first time and assembled an edit that was as close as possible to Donner's original vision. Since Donner hadn't been able to film everything that he'd had in mind, a few of Richard Lester's scenes had to be used to bridge some gaps. And one scene was accomplished using footage from Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder's screen tests. Let's take a closer look at the differences between Lester's version and Donner's version. Both versions start out with a recap of the Kryptonian villains being sentenced to the Phantom Zone. Donner's version has Marlon Brando, Lester's doesn't. General Zod yells at Jor-El in both versions, even though we don't actually see him in Lester's.
You will bow down before me, Jor-El. I swear it. No matter that it takes an eternity, you will bow down before me. Both you, and then one day, your heirs. You will bow down before me, Jor-El. Both you, and then one day, Jor-El. Your heirs.
The Donner cut shows us his original intention of Lex Luthor's missile freeing the Phantom Zone villains. The Lester cut starts out at the Daily Planet, with Clark learning that Lois is in Paris, where terrorists are holding the Eiffel Tower hostage with a hydrogen bomb. Everyone seems pretty calm about this.
The minute the story broke, I bundled her on the first Concorde out of here. If Paris is going to go kablooey, I want my best reporter right in the middle of it.
Why does Perry White have a picture of Bill Cosby in his office? Superman flies to Paris to stop the terrorists.
Tell them to get ready.
Stand by.
This plot is exclusive to the Lester version. It's not in the Donner version at all.
I believe this is your floor.
Oh, thank God.
Superman throws the elevator with the bomb in it into space, and that's what frees the Phantom Zone villains in this version. The Donner cut also starts out at the Daily Planet, where Lois is starting to suspect that Clark Kent is Superman. To prove her theory, she jumps out the dang window.
Lois, what are you doing?
You wouldn't let me die, Superman.
Clark manages to save her without giving away his secret. This
Lois, what have you done?
isn't Christopher Reeve.
Clark, you're not.
Perry mentions he's sending Clark and Lois to cover some kind of honeymoon
Gonna
scam.
pose as a honeymoon couple in Niagara Falls to get an expose on the newlywed racket.
Back to the Lester cut. Clark and Lois are back in Metropolis.
Hi, Lois.
Hi, Clark.
There's a scene where a cab hits Clark and gets all messed up. This is something I never understood, and this will come back up later. We know Clark Kent is clumsy, but he's just pretending to be that way, right? Why did he ruin this poor guy's cab?
Golly, Lois, what are you doing?
This version also introduces a running bit with Lois liking freshly squeezed orange juice. Both versions show us Lex and Otis in prison. Now we know this was shot by Richard Donner, because Gene Hackman didn't film anything for Richard Lester. Donner's version of this scene goes on a bit longer. There's also some alternate dialogue between the two versions.
What matter of fact do they give it? Life plus 25, Luther. Get to work.
Life plus 25, Luther. Get to work.
I want my Liberace record back tonight.
What are you gonna
Tonight?
I want my Liberace record back tonight.
What are you gonna
Scratch
do?
on it.
Both versions then show us the Phantom Zone villains in space, attacking some astronauts. Both versions are pretty similar at this part.
They come from there, a place called Houston.
Then we will go there too. To rule.
Next, both versions cut back to the prison, where Lex and Otis are trying to escape. Again, Donner's version has more dialogue.
How are we gonna get over that wall? How do we get in here? We flew in here, don't you remember? That's how we're gonna get out.
Donner's version continues directly into Lex and Miss Tessmacher in a hot air balloon. Lester makes this into a separate scene that comes a little bit later, and is now daytime instead.
Tessmacher. North. Due north.
Lester's version has a voiceover that is clearly not Gene Hackman.
Very good, mister.
Very good, Miss Tessmacher. Very good.
Miss Tessmacher, is this a philosophy seminar?
Miss Tessmacher, is this a philosophy seminar?
Both versions move on to Lois and Clark arriving in Niagara Falls to expose the hotel honeymoon scam. This is the first we've heard of it in Lester's cut, so it kind of seems to come out of nowhere. But there's a lot of exposition delivered in the dialogue. This scene is shorter in Donner's version. I'm pretty sure it was shot by Richard Lester. There's some awkward humor with the weird bellhop in Lester's version. Lois sees Clark without his glasses on, which raises her suspicions. Clark says he's going to get Lois some orange juice.
Freshly squeezed.
I know, okay.
A kid is messing around and being an idiot, and falls right into the dang falls. Superman shows up and saves the kid.
And Clark is not around as usual.
In Lester's version, this prompts Lois to try to prove Clark is Superman by jumping into the falls herself. He's able to save her by cutting a branch with his heat vision. So now both versions have a bit with Lois risking her life, and Clark saving her without exposing the secret. Both versions have a scene with Lex and Miss Tessmacher at the Fortress of Solitude. In Donner's cut, they access a recording of Jor-El.
The virtuous spirit has no need for thankful approval. Only the certain conviction that what has been done is right.
That's the old man. He looks just like the kid.
I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree.
In Lester's, it's just some random Kryptonian dude.
Trees by Joyce Kilmer of the planet Earth.
What the...
I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree. A tree whose hunger...
He's not here. It's a voice from the past. That's cute. That's very cute.
And then they access a recording of Lara.
Kal-El, my son, as keeper of the archives of Krypton, it falls to me to tell you of the darkest episode in our planet's history.
Next, the Kryptonian villains arrive on Earth. Both versions are more or less the same, although Lester has a bit with Non not being able to get his powers to work that Donner does not. Lester and Donner handle this next scene very differently. This is the part that Donner edited together from screen test footage. In Lester's version, Clark trips over the bearskin rug and falls into the fire.
No, okay.
Clark, let me see your hand. Give it to me.
No, sorry.
Let me look at it.
When he's not burned, he admits to Lois that he's Superman. I never really liked this reveal. Again, does he actually become a klutz when he's Clark? Or did he do this on purpose?
I'm sorry.
If it was on purpose, why not just tell her that he's Superman instead of putting on a weird act?
I don't know why I did that.
I like the way Donner handles the reveal better, but being as it's stitched together with the screen test footage, it feels out of place and just really takes you out of the film. But in his version, Lois tricks Clark into revealing his secret.
I risked my life instead of yours.
Lois?
By freaking shooting him.
And don't fall down, because you're just going to have to get up again.
No, Lois, now don't be crazy now. What?
It is you.
You realize, of course, if you'd been wrong, Clark Kent would have been killed.
With a blank? Gotcha.
Next, the villains show up in a small town.
Who else is seeing this?
Well, with this satellite link up, just about everybody. I mean, the whole planet.
The whole planet Houston?
Earth. The whole planet Earth.
I believe this was shot mostly, if not entirely, by Richard Lester. Donner uses a lot less of this footage. There's some comedic beats in Lester's cut
The Sam Hill.
that are left out of Donner's. But also, just in general, we see a lot more destruction in Lester's version. I also want to note this shot in Lester's cut of Non ripping the siren off of the police car. Hold that thought. We're going to come back to it later. All right, so in both versions, Superman takes Lois to the Fortress of Solitude. In Lester's cut, Superman shows Lois the crystal that created the fortress. Take note of the fact that the crystal gets left out rather than being put back with the others. In Lester's version, Superman talks to Lara about wanting to be with Lois, and she offers him the opportunity to have his powers taken away and become human so that he can be with her.
Your father and I tried to anticipate your every question, Kal-El. This is the one we hoped you would not ask. This crystal chamber has harnessed the rays of the red sun of Krypton. Once exposed to these rays, all your great powers on Earth will disappear forever. Once it is done, there is no return.
Apparently, the fortress also has the power to turn his costume into clothes. Then a depowered Clark and Lois spend the night together in the fortress. In Donner's version, Superman and Lois spend the night together before he gives up his powers, which kind of lends itself more to a certain plot twist in Superman Returns.
Who is that boy's father?
Richard. Are you sure?
Anyways, then Superman talks to Jor-El about wanting to be with Lois. And it's Jor-El who offers him the choice to give up his powers.
My son, I have tried to anticipate your every question. This was one I'd hoped you would not ask. This crystal chamber has in it the harnessed rays of the red sun of Krypton. Once exposed to them, all your great powers on Earth will disappear. Forever. Once this is done, there's no going back.
Superman is wearing normal clothes, and Lois is wearing, I guess, part of the costume? I really like how Jor-El kind of side-eyes Lois here. Gives her the Kryptonian stink eye. The villains destroy the Washington Monument in Donner's version.
Thousands of hours to create, and they defaced it in seconds.
And Mount Rushmore in Lester's version.
Thousands of hours to create, and they defaced it in seconds.
They attack the White House. There's a shot of General Zod firing a gun in Donner's version that's not in Lester's. Something interesting about Ursa. Sarah Douglas's voice was dubbed over by another actress, presumably to make her sound more intimidating. So most of the time Ursa sounds like this.
General Zod does not take orders. He gives them.
But there's one line in Donner's cut where we hear Sarah's actual voice.
What a backward planet this must be. Where the men wear the ribbons and the jewelry.
The actress who did Ursa's redubbed voice was Annie Ross, who would appear in Superman 3 as Vera Webster.
I know enough about computers to put a PhD to shame. Come now, brother dear. You didn't think I was going to let that little man run the show, did you?
But I digress. Clark and Lois drive to a diner. I'm not sure where they got a car, or how long it takes to drive from the Fortress of Solitude to civilization.
It sure takes longer when you can't fly.
This plays out pretty much the same in both versions.
Excuse me, sir, I think you're sitting in my seat.
Your seat's in there, Four Eyes.
Clark gets into a fight with a rude trucker at the diner.
Gee, I think perhaps somebody ought to teach you some manners, sir.
And gets his butt handed to him.
Clark!
You all right, fella?
He's gonna be fine. Just give me that.
Then he sees on the news about the Kryptonian villains.
Superman, can you hear me? Superman, where?
Who is this Superman?
You'll find out, General. And when you do...
Come to me, Superman. If you dare, I defy you. Come! Come and kneel before Zod!
You didn't know this was going to happen.
Notice the subtle difference in this line.
He knew. I heard him. I just didn't listen.
You didn't know this was going to happen.
They knew. I heard him. I just didn't listen.
In both versions, Lex Luthor shows up at the White House and proposes an alliance with the Kryptonian villains. We know that Donner shot this since it features Hackman. Lex offers to help the Kryptonians find Superman in exchange for
Australia.
Clark goes back to the fortress. He calls out for his father. Father! Which really only makes sense in Donner's cut. In Lester's cut, that one crystal that got accidentally left out is how he's able to reactivate the fortress. Like that crystal didn't get deactivated earlier, so it can reboot everything, I guess. So in Lester's version, he's able to get his powers back through kind of a loophole. In Donner's cut, the crystal lights up, even though it hadn't been left out in this version, which feels more like his dad giving him one more chance. A kind of prodigal son allegory. About parents letting their kids make mistakes and still helping them out when they mess up.
Listen carefully, my son, for we shall never speak again.
The AI Jor-El uses the last of its energy.
Once before, when you were small, I died while giving you a chance for life.
To restore Superman's powers.
And now, even though it will exhaust the final energy left within me.
Father, no.
Look at me, Kal-El. The Kryptonian prophecy will be at last fulfilled. The son becomes the father becomes the son. Farewell forever, Kal-El. Remember me, my son.
Next, we're back at the Daily Planet. Note that Lester's version is going to be kind of a mishmash of his footage and Donner's. You can tell which parts are Lester's reshoots by keeping an eye on Margot Kidder's hair. This is Lester footage. This is Donner footage. The Kryptonian villains show up and attack the Daily Planet. There's some weird moments where Lester uses footage of Gene Hackman, but dubbed in the re-recorded dialogue.
Even with all this accumulated knowledge, when will these dummies learn to use a doorknob?
You should see the White House. They've been cleaning for months.
Never thought this thing would go the distance.
Never thought this thing would go the distance.
Superman shows up and says something different in each version. This is one case where Lester's is definitely better.
General? Would you care to step outside?
General? Haven't you ever heard of freedom of the press?
Well, considering about 20 minutes ago they thought the whole planet was called Houston.
The whole planet Houston?
They're probably not familiar with the Bill of Rights.
Would you care to step outside?
The press?
Superman!
Superman, thank God.
I mean, get him! Come to me, son of Jor-El! Kneel before Zod!
Superman and the villains fight. In Donner's cut, the pace is a bit faster, the editing tighter, and the fight generally more serious. In Lester's cut, there are a lot of comedic beats that break the tension.
Wow, home run.
Lois isn't the only one whose hair changes. In Donner's footage, Terrence Stamp's hair is cut pretty short. In some of the Lester shots, you can see that it's longer in the back.
He is a coward after all.
Also, most of the time, Stamp has a filter on his voice to make it sound deeper. In some of the Donner footage, that filter is missing.
Why do you say this to me? When you know I will kill you for it.
Why do you say this to me when you know I will kill you for it?
At one point in the fight, it looks like Superman has been defeated. The people of Metropolis go to attack the villains, and they get blown away, literally, by the super breath. Lester goes nuts with the comedy here.
What sound?
You forgot your chin.
Wait a minute. Whoa. My hair! Your hair? What about mine? Yeah. Go ahead, yeah.
Donner also has the super breath scene, but without any of the slapstick. Superman eventually takes the fight to the Fortress of Solitude as a way to keep innocent people from getting hurt. Things get weird here as Lester adds some, let's just say some unique powers to Superman's list of abilities, like being able to throw his ass at people and being able to make copies of himself. Lex Luthor is here at the fortress as well.
Hey, never heard of parachutes?
There are these weird cut-ins
Another small step for mankind.
where someone who's definitely not Gene Hackman is making his way through the fortress.
Hi, guys. Sorry,
We have no more use for this one.
None of this stuff with the extra powers or the not Gene Hackman Lex is in Donner's cut.
Let Miss Lane go and step inside. We'll talk.
No, don't, Superman. Please don't listen to him. He's just...
In both versions, Superman is able to trick the villains by pretending to confide in Lex Luthor, who predictably double-crosses him.
Don't go in there, General. It's a trap. Luthor, you poisonous snake! That's a molecule chamber. It makes people like you into people like me.
You've done well, Lex Luthor.
Superman goes into the chamber and the fortress steals the villain's powers this time instead.
He switched it. He did it to them. I mean, the lights were on out here, while he was safe in there.
He switched it. He did it to them. The lights were on out here while he was safe in there.
Hey, you know something? You're a real pain in the neck.
Alright, so I'm going to talk about how the Lester version wraps things up first. The villains are defeated. They, I guess, leave Lex Luthor at the fortress. And Superman takes Lois home. The next day at the Daily Planet,
Don't tell me that I'll meet somebody. You're kind of tough act to follow, you know? Now, I'm gonna be fine. You don't have to worry about me.
I like worrying about you.
Would you stop? Don't you know that this is killing me? Do you know what it's like to have you come in here every morning and not be able to talk to you?
this is a good scene between the two of them.
I don't even know what to call you.
Lois, I don't know what to say.
I really like the subtlety of Reeves' performance here.
Well, now just say that you love me.
He's blurring the lines between Clark and Superman. Clark gives Lois a super amnesia kiss that removes her memory of his identity. It doesn't really make sense. Then we get to see Reeves slip back into the Clark Kent persona.
Gee, Lois, you okay? What happened?
What's this?
Oh, I know.
Right?
Just feeling well. I'll get some water.
Here's some water. Yeah, that's what happens when I'm fine. What was I talking about before?
If I know you, it's probably about Superman.
Oh, him again.
Oh, Clark, you gotta stop being threatened every time the guy's name's mentioned. I appreciate you, especially if you get me a hamburger.
A hamburger at 9 a.m.?
Oh, and
Orange juice. Sure, if it's freshly squeezed. Okay.
Then he goes back to the diner from earlier.
All right, Ron. Yeah? Give me another plate of this garbage.
Wait, is he eating a garbage plate?
Gee, that's funny. I've never seen garbage eat garbage before.
Oh. Oh, God!
This order's to go. I'm terribly sorry about all the damage, sir.
The film ends with Superman putting the flag back on the White House.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Sorry I've been away so long. I won't let you down again.
All right, let's back up and look at how Donner handles the ending. After defeating the Kryptonian villains, Superman destroys the Fortress of Solitude with his heat vision. Wait, wasn't Lex Luthor still in there? He flies Lois home.
You don't have to worry. Your secret's safe with me.
I know that, Lois.
And now, the ending that Donner originally intended for Superman 2 was for him to reverse time. But we already saw him do that at the end of Superman 1, so this feels really redundant. Can you imagine if every Superman movie just always ended with him reversing time?
Effective immediately, I'm going to rid our planet of all nuclear weapons.
Now there's a scene at the Daily Planet that establishes that none of what we just saw ever happened anymore.
Get us a pizza.
Pizza. Now?
So the entire movie was completely pointless. But then Clark still goes back to the diner and beats up that trucker. So does the trucker think Clark's beating him up for no reason? Doesn't that make Superman the bully in this situation?
This order's to go.
Also, why did he destroy the fortress if he was just going to reverse everything? Man, I was never a fan of the Super Amnesia Kiss ending, but this one really just makes no sense. And I guess never mind what I said earlier about this version tying in better to Superman Returns. In Donner's cut, none of it ever happened.
You okay? What happened?
And in Lester's cut, Lois doesn't remember any of it happening.
Who is that boy's father?
Richard.
Are you sure?
No, she's probably not sure of anything. I know this would have been ahead of its time since Lois didn't find out the secret in the comics until the 90s. But I would have liked it if the movie ended with Lois still in on it.
You don't have to worry. Your secret's safe with me.
That would have been a really intriguing setup for where things could have gone in Superman 3. Although, Margot Kidder spoke out against the way Richard Donner was treated, and about the process of reshooting so much of the film with Richard Lester. This resulted in her getting sidelined in Superman 3. She only appears in 2 scenes and has about 5 minutes of total screen time.
Lois, are you going someplace?
Well, Clark, you know, some people get to go all the way to Smallville, and then there are others of us who have to go to Bermuda.
Golly.
Bye.
Have a good time.
Superman 3 was directed by Richard Lester and has a lot of comedy in it, including a lot of slapstick humor in the very bizarre opening credits. And a ton of screen time for comedian Richard Pryor. Most people consider Superman 4 the worst Superman movie, but I gotta be honest, I really can't stand Superman 3. Now, interestingly, there are even more Superman 2 scenes that don't appear in the Lester version or the Donner version, but would sometimes be included when Superman 2 would air on TV. One scene that was infamous for being kind of disturbing. Remember that shot earlier of Non ripping the siren off the cop car? There's a longer version where he throws it at a kid who's trying to go for help.
I said no one leaves.
And freaking kills him.
He was only a boy who will never become a man.
There's also a scene near the end that shows the Kryptonian villains being taken away by police. Wait a minute, how did the police know where the Fortress of Solitude is?
We'll say that you were killed in the battle. You'll lie low for a few months and hang out at my joint. And I'll bring you along as a boxer, right? The Smallville's strong boy.
And how does Lex know Superman was from Smallville?
Trust me, Clark. Our friendship is going to be the stuff of legend.
All right, so which version of Superman 2 is better? It's hard to say. The truth is that the perfect version of Superman 2 exists somewhere between the two. The Lester cut has a lot of weird comedy that tends to come out of nowhere and kind of ruin the flow of the dramatic scenes. And Donner's scenes with Jor-El really emphasize the father and son theme and carry more emotional weight to them. But the Donner cut as it exists today just doesn't feel complete unto itself. The screen test footage being used, the time travel ending being reused, makes his cut feel unfinished. It's a novelty that I'm glad we got to see, and like I said, it has some great moments, but it doesn't replace the theatrical version on the shelf. While there are moments in the Donner cut that I absolutely love, if I have to choose one version over the other, I have to say Lester's cut holds up better as a film. It's a shame that Richard Donner didn't get to complete Superman 1 and 2 together as originally intended. I think we can all agree that would have been truly super. So Superman 2 became the first superhero movie to have two distinctly different versions. But it wouldn't be the last. In fact, it wouldn't even be the last to feature Superman as a character. Next time on Cut, Justice League.